Hey, so it's Amethyst Virgo. I'm here to talk about the ninth house. So I'm using a different camera, so we'll see how this goes. But I really wanted to get this video out of here. I posted on YouTube that if anyone had any specific placements in the ninth house they wanted me to briefly talk about, that I would try to do that. And so I have a couple of specific ninth house placements to really talk about today. But the ninth house, honestly, as an astrologer, it's one of my favorite houses to talk about because we get to think about, what do people think about? What are their beliefs? What are their morals? What are their, specific ways of being? How do they feel life should be lived, through their belief systems, through their, specific ideologies? What messages do people think people need to hear? 12th house is spirituality. So people may or may not really try to get you to believe what they believe. It's more so an internal process. It's an inner awareness. But when we're dealing with the ninth house of Jupiter, it's light. We need to see this. You need to come believe this, right? And again, it's not saying that everyone with the ninth house placement is trying to control people, but it's a part of your life. It's a part of your being. And when you have ninth house placements, there really, truly, usually is a journey. It's a mission that you have in order to refine what you believe and what you think, especially if you have a north node in the ninth house. You're here to learn how to assert your beliefs and not just focus only on objective facts that you learn, and how to find your personal truth. And so, let's just dive in. So the sun, when you have the sun in the ninth house, there's definitely some type of need to be seen for what you know or your knowledge, in these individuals. And it's not the same as necessarily the third house, where it's like, I'm information, I have a lot of information. I'm very talkative type, that might be that nature of the third house for some folks. But the sun in the ninth house is more so, they attach to their beliefs. They attach to their beliefs and it becomes a part of their being. So these are usually people that don't mind being known as for what they are true to, being known for their sense of truth, their sense of belief, their sense of, they might get a lot of shine, a lot of praise, or just noticed a lot for their confidence in what they believe and what they think. They might be the person that maybe even they go against the grain. If you have someone with Sun and Uranus in the ninth house, they go against the grain, they go against what other people believe and think, but they're here because they stay in their truth no matter what. The sun, I have a video about the sun in the ninth house being the messenger of getting, you can get attention that way. People will see you. And even when you're not trying, there's kind of like this attachment or this kind of curiosity and intrigue. People are intrigued by you a lot. When you have a sun in the ninth house, more so for your ideas, like, what do you believe? What do you think about this? People are more attracted to the way in which you view life. And so that is where you'll see kind of a difference between third and ninth house energy. And sometimes, so we'll look at, well, does that mean everybody with the sun in the ninth house is this expansive personality and all of that? It really will also depend on the sign. So in general, yes, the ninth house is known for this concept of travel and going away from home, going away from what you're used to. And so when you have that, there typically is this person who wants to be seen away from home. Right? Anytime you start moving away from the third, fourth house, you start moving away from the bottom part of your chart, you're now moving away from home and you're going into the world. And the ninth house is definitely a world because we're dealing with travel and other people, other cultures. So let's make an example. So I had a comment before and we're talking about placements, and this person has a sun in Taurus. And they're like, yeah, I'm a sun in Taurus, but I'm not really like the typical type of sun in ninth house. Like, I don't really, travel is not my, I like to stay close to what I'm used to. I don't really want to go out and do, travel and leave where home is. The thing about the sun in Taurus, or any Taurus energy in the ninth house, I have my north node in Taurus, is that, sun in Taurus specifically wants to be seen for stability. So remember, I said people reached out to me, I would pop in their placements in the ninth house. So if you reached out, that's why I'm going over it. They spread awareness. Sun in Taurus can spread awareness for what is natural to them. Taurus in the ninth house is not about being the Jane or, jack of all trades. It's more so about, this is what I believe. Maybe you were raised a certain way and you believe really, intensely about that energy that you have, about that, what beliefs you were instilled in you, and to this day that is important to you. So when you have the sun in Taurus in particular, any kind of more earthy type of energy, we're dealing with wanting to be seen for their knowledge of what they really, really know. So Taurus stacks up knowledge over time when it's in the ninth house, gets really good at it. And the thing about Taurus energy in general is it's resourceful. Taurus is not, a lot of times, again, I say it's one of the underestimated signs of the zodiac. Taurus, what do I say? I say it's Taurus, it's Pisces, it's Libra, and Virgo. The most underestimated signs, because when we truly understand the energy of each sign, we see what they're actually capable of. And so the sun in Taurus person is stable in terms of their being. There's not a lot of change. You're not like, well, what do you believe today? Well, last week you were on this new mission to become this other, some people have spiritual, religious beliefs, but they're not like the religions that are very strict. You're going on this other journey, they're going to be like, well, wait, what are you today? That's not the sun in Taurus person. You go to the sun in Taurus person because they have knowledge about something in particular. And because you know that they have experience in something particular over time. And whereas opposed to, you might have a sun in Gemini person in the ninth house, where sun in Gemini, Gemini doesn't really love being in the ninth house, but it'll do it because it's mutable, and sun in Gemini energy sometimes can feel scattered when it's in the ninth house, because it's like, wait, I'm supposed to be curious, but this ninth house wants me to find purpose and truth, but I'm really trying to find objectivity. So how does that really play out? So a lot of times the sun in Gemini person in the ninth house feels like they're constantly on a quest to find their truth, because unlike Sag, where Sag just gets that enthusiasm, and it's more of that emotion that Jupiter bestows on them, right? That kind of energy of being enthusiastic and being optimistic. Mercury rules Gemini, so it's the mind. So the mind is like, well, let me try this or let me try that. So sometimes you can find sun in Gemini folks where there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. Can be really beneficial for some people, but it's going to be different. It's going to manifest differently because Gemini is trying to find where it fits. It's going to try to find its purpose, and mutable air is trying to be curious. But now it's to be in the ninth house where we're trying to find purpose and what we believe and what our belief systems are. And that's not impossible. I think they're very entertaining. I think the sun in Gemini ties, and again, why am I saying this? Because people sent me messages or they posted on they posted about their specific sign. So if I'm going over a specific sign, it's for a reason. It's because they either reached out to me or we already had this conversation about which signs to talk about. And so it can be entertaining. I think that Gemini sometimes is not, but here's the thing that can be great about Gemini in the ninth house. And, some other placements too, even Pisces in the ninth house, they're not trying to convince you of anything. Sometimes you can get certain signs in the ninth house, strong, like really cardinal energy or very directive energy, very fixed energy, where it's like, no, this is my belief. You got a crowd around me. This is what I believe. And, you should think this too, because it's such a great idea, right? You can sometimes have that, but I think with Gemini in the ninth house, there's not this kind of like, I'm trying to get you to think this. It's more of them trying to explore and entertain themselves and trying to find that purpose. So the sun, that's what usually we'll see the sun in the ninth house. There's a concentration on the messenger of like you really feeling the need to get praise or get shine for the accumulation of knowledge or accumulation of experiences. You like to be seen as someone who has experience in something, even at work. You might like and thrive from not just, oh, he knows some things, but like, oh yeah, and he did this and she did that. Like you usually have a lot of stories about your life when you have placements in the ninth house, especially if we have the sun, which is your projection and what you're, conscious of projecting and showing the world. Now, Mercury belongs in the third house. So Mercury is going to, I just talked about Gemini. Sometimes Mercury can feel not at home, but it'll welcome it, because remember, there's an energy exchange between opposite signs, opposite houses. There's an energy exchange, okay? And these are, Mercury is used to being in mutable houses, the third and the sixth. So Mercury is kind of like, all right, let me figure this out, because Mercury is information and analysis, and Jupiter is knowledge. And so though they can work beautifully together in someone's chart, sometimes there can feel like, you're trying to go in different directions. But what happens typically with the person with Mercury is there's a love or appreciation for learning. And so these are the people where ninth house is not always about higher education, people who go to post-secondary, college, people who go to graduate school, people who go on sabbaticals and journeys and study abroad. And that can definitely be a part of some people's ninth house experience. Mercury deals more with short-term travel. So typically when Mercury is there, this might be a person who's more scholarly in the sense of wanting to build on to what they've learned, right? Mercury, third house, early formal education. So typically a Mercury in the ninth house person will thrive or want to go to school, continue it. Especially if they have like Mercury in any placement like Saturn or Pluto anywhere around there. What I've also noticed is that sometimes Mercury ninth house, they say what they believe. And sometimes it comes off as their conviction, because Mercury is about our sense of communication. When Mercury's in the ninth house, it's like, I have to speak up. And it can be good because Mercury can speak up for people who are afraid to speak up. Remember, truth. And so the ninth house embodies all of these different aspects, from the person who's too indoctrinating to opinionated, wants everyone to believe how they believe, and, it can be very blunt and to the, very direct, or the person who is standing up and is about truth. And truth can be whatever you decide is the truth, which is why the ninth house is not an objective house, because we all don't believe the same things. But most people have some type of belief. And so Mercury, again, an example might be Mercury in Pisces in the ninth house, where these people will speak, but it's gentle. It's not controlling. It's not trying to indoctrinate you. But, Pisces can get you in your emotions, but you feel connected. You feel like Pisces cares about you on a collective level, because it's this compassion piece that you can see. Mercury and Pisces people can do well with getting people to listen to them, especially when it comes to understanding what they truly are embodying, when it comes to like anything that is spiritual, any sensitive topics. Mercury and Pisces might have that ability to really get people to listen to them, because it's not a harsh way. But of course, there's different ways to reach different types of people. Whereas you have Mercury and Sagittarius, well, now Sagittarius wants to be in that house, but Mercury is like, oh, I have to be in Sagittarius, I'm supposed to be in Jupiter, right? So in the Mercury and Sagittarius person, that's very strong. There's a strong need to express, to share, to tell their truth, to tell the truth. But it's the truth, and there's your truth. And when we have Mercury in Sagittarius, and Mercury really is typically not as comfortable in the ninth house, it's just like Mercury and Sag in the third house, where it can be distorting the facts or exaggerating. When we put Mercury and Sag in the ninth house, it's more at home because it's Sagittarius, but Mercury also can talk too much, or it can say a lot because it's now in the fire house. And so sometimes you can get in trouble with words, or you should likely be in situations where your words are going to be respected. Be in situations where Mercury and Sagittarius person's words and authority on what they believe is going to be seen. So people who are lecturers or mentors or spiritualists or preachers, or in any type of field where people have to listen to you, and where you're going to feel that you're confident communicating and connecting through your belief, and that people are going to listen to you, is going to be important. So if you're in a very objective field where it's about data and it's about facts, if your whole chart is data and facts, and just analysis and things like that, if you're someone with like a heavy Virgo chart maybe, or something like that, it might be sometimes important to understand that you're going to thrive best in those environments. Whereas if you are someone who's like, no, I need to tell my truth, that Mercury and ninth house person, you need to be in environments where people will listen to your truth and not say, well, that's not the facts. That's why you get in arguments with people, because you want to share your belief, but you have people who are like, that's not real. That's not the fact. So I always tell people and clients, get in the right environment around the right people, and you'll feel that your energy is appreciated. All right. But yeah, and Mercury, when you have Mercury ninth house, you're going to be seeking truth a lot, but it's through curiosity, and it's through facts, and that's what I'm saying. Mercury really belongs in the third or sixth house, but when it's in the ninth house, it's trying to maneuver the energy. And so it's not the same as Jupiter's just all knowing, omniscient type of energy. Jupiter is kind of like this all knowing, which is why sometimes people consider Jupiter to be this concept of like religion or a God type of concept. All knowing, shedding light, That's Jupiter. But with Mercury, it can work really well in the ninth house, but you typically are someone that wants to continue to learn, and your thoughts and ideas are going to be builded on and expanded through that ninth house. Venus is the lover of experiences. So when you have Venus in the ninth house, again, I don't say that every ninth house placement means you're going to travel long distance or anything like that. But I feel like with Venus in ninth house in general, it's probably possible. You enjoy being around people. You might enjoy different cultures. The ninth house is about going away from what's familiar to you. Third house is what we're familiar with. Who we were socialized with was our siblings in early life, or our cousins, or whoever we were around in our school age. Now, again, the third house, we know once we graduate from childhood, the third house becomes more of our own personal communication as an adult. But that's what we have going on right now with Venus in the ninth house. You have a sense of appreciation for the variety in life, variety of people. You appreciate different cultures or different types of people. You feel a need to understand life in a way that gives you a sense or a different range, a different, understanding of who other people are. You're in harmony when you feel that you're attracting different types of people maybe in your life. You earn a lot of connections when you experience, when you explore, when you go outside of your comfort zone. You're going to attract different experiences that help you understand what you truly value, and who and what is something that's really important as a core part of you. So Venus in the ninth house, people tend to always want to be in environments where they feel the most appreciated, or where they feel the most intrigued, or where they feel the most adventure, the sense of, oh, I'm going to explore. I want to see how this is. Even when it comes to creativity, right? They're not afraid to go outside the limits. Typically, Venus is not afraid to go outside the limits. Now, again, if we have a more cautious sign in the ninth house, Virgo or Cancer or Taurus, it might manifest a little bit differently. But typically with the Venus in the ninth house, it's a great placement for people who love culture or love different people. Or if you're like, you should, or you should entertain that, because Venus is what we can attract. And when we are in the right environment, we're going to attract people who appreciate us. So you will be appreciated in environments that are away from home. You're going to be seen and valued, maybe sometimes even more, when you're away from where you're used to, making new connections, meeting new people, and thriving through experience. Your relationships tend to be that way as well, like experimental, or you like you might not have a pattern of who you date, and it might be more inside. Like, it's a lot of times it'll be like, we can't tell what somebody is by looking at them all the time. You can't. So it's a lot of times Venus in the ninth house is more open to, well, she's different or he's different and they're different. It's okay. Like that type of energy, especially if there's a really heavy emphasis of Sagittarius or Gemini or any of the mutables or Aquarius in the chart. The moon. All right. And I got my moon in Gemini stamp here because somebody asked about moon in Gemini. So the moon is this receptive planet or satellite, so to speak. But it's the planet when we do astrology, all right? We're not going to be that nitpicky. The moon has an internal need to really entertain what you feel inspired by. So when your moon is in the ninth house and you are not following that feeling, that urge of like, let me try this, let me do this, you're going to feel probably really unhappy. The sun is what we project. And sometimes you might feel acknowledgement for what you project. A lot of times you're going to feel like, people praise me for this, or people like when I do that. But the moon is telling you what you actually need. And you're the only person that knows what you really need. And so when the moon is in the ninth house, you may not always literally be maybe exploring like a Venus, maybe a ninth, or like a Mars, but you are typically internally stirred. Internally, you feel a need to understand things at a different level. And you actually connect to people, through experiences. You might be someone who's really good with helping other people through their experiences because you acknowledge the different range, and it's a less judgmental type of energy. Typically, we have the moon in the ninth house. The moon is very protective of itself. And so that's why it's typically not the most extroverted planet. Is not there, right? When you have the moon in the ninth house. But it's similar, to people wanting to understand people in a way. It's similar to understanding people and through their experiences and wanting to connect on that level. You might be really good at following your intuition. Ninth house already is kind of this. So the benefit is it's not objective. So you can sometimes get people who get senses to things. Their knowledge is just pours through them. That's why sometimes ninth house can be related to this concept of prophecy, right? Because what's happening is this inner knowledge that you have has to be explored. And so because of that, you might feel more in touch with your intuition. It just flows because there's mutable fire energy. But the thing is, you like to do something. When something hits you, you're like, I got to do something about this, or I have to explore this. I have to experience this, which can be, again, that can add to being spontaneous. You have someone with moon and Sag in the ninth house, or if you have someone, now Sagittarius works well there, but again, everything has cons. So if you have moon and Aries in the ninth house, very, very just, I have to follow whatever I need to. And I just can't, it's not a thinking type of energy anymore. You get what I'm saying? We put the moon ninth house, though we have, this is knowledge, this is not a Mercury house, where now Jupiter was expansive. And so the moon can constantly want to feed itself what it feels it needs. And so sometimes it can lead to becoming disconnected from responsibilities or things you really need to do when the moon is like, feed me, I need more. But I think it can be a great energy for people who want to be in touch with their spirituality and also want to impact other people in some way. Because wherever the moon is, you're going to connect to these people. And though the ninth house is of diversity, typically, the moon, you can relate to people in any way. A lot of times the moon, you're going to relate to people like you, from you, or people who are similar to you in some way. Gemini moons. The Gemini moons are, I feel like emotionally you guys are very curious and you're always trying to really understand why you feel the way you do. And so you typically need to be emotionally in situations, relationships where a person allows you that freedom, where they don't judge you like, oh, well, you don't know what you feel and you don't know what you think. A partner can maybe, or family member, anybody that you're close to can help you regulate that a little bit more, because the moon in Gemini is great for rationalizing me think first. Whereas the moon in ninth house is not really about thinking. When we put the moon in Gemini, we get a different type of reaction. This person is curious. You're always trying to look and see what more can you know. But again, Gemini doesn't like being in that ninth house 100% because Gemini wants to be free to be curious, but the ninth house is about purpose. And so sometimes you can chase the wrong purpose, chase the wrong things. So it's important when your moon is in Gemini to find purpose eventually. You're going to feel curious, you're going to question a lot of things, but eventually you want to get to a point where you are able to transfer that into a belief of what you truly feel. And then, use that in order to navigate your life, But the moon in Gemini in there is pretty good when it comes to also understanding how to connect to people. See a lot of moon in Gemini people with the ninth house, like it's the best of both worlds because you're curious and you're willing to talk about things, but you're not really judging people. And that is sometimes the pitfall of ninth house energy, is this kind of, this is what I believe, you should believe me too. And that's not really typically what we're going to see with the Gemini energy. So that can be good in terms of you're going to have a better with, now again, it's going to be harder for you to find your way when it comes to emotions and what you truly desire. It might flip around a lot because of your placement, whereas the moon and Sag in the ninth house would be more, the energy is more aligned, but people might view that sometimes as trying to get them to do certain things, whereas you're kind of more free-spirited when it comes to certain things. Jupiter. Okay, and I have a Jupiter and Pisces person to talk about. Well, not you, but just the placement. So Jupiter, of course, since Jupiter rules this house, you attract a luck when it comes to messaging people. Even though, like I said, the ninth house being pushy, it typically is not going to show up with Jupiter there. Because Jupiter it just makes us feel better. Wherever Jupiter is in your chart is like, you have the ability to attract people to that particular area of your life where you're going to find like, oh, wow, that's a little bit easier. Or, wow, I don't know how that even happened, but it just happened. That's Jupiter working on your behalf. Because Jupiter is all knowing, Jupiter sometimes can put us in predicaments where things come out all right in the end. And so when Jupiter's in the ninth house, though, you still want to expand and express. And again, it's the highest form of enthusiasm. If you have Jupiter in your ninth house and you're not sure how to use it, find, what do you believe? Who do you believe in? What do you believe in? What in beliefs, it could just be morals. Like, I believe people should be treated like this, or I believe life should be like this, or this is my philosophy on the world and of life. That is where you start, because people are going to be attracted to that. Wherever Jupiter is, they're going to be attracted to what you have. And so that's the best way to really use that energy. Jupiter, What's your message? You do have a journey. You do have a mission if you have Jupiter in ninth house to message. Does not mean you need to get on a stage and tell the whole world what to do. It means you probably have to experience life. You have to go outside your comfort zone because the people that you influence might not always be in your immediate life. You benefit from spiritual communities sometimes, especially if you have Jupiter in Pisces. So Jupiter in Pisces, Jupiter is the original ruler of Pisces. So Jupiter loves being in Pisces. And so when it's in Pisces, it's your enthusiasm is gentle. The approach is, now again, it might not always be as effective as Sagittarius, because Sagittarius can make us all believe. They can make us all believe. Sagittarius energy is like, oh, really? Okay, I never thought of it that way. You're so sure of this. Maybe I'll be sure of it too, right? And so with that mindset, that's typically what will happen. But with Jupiter and Pisces, you're going to be more in tune with what is natural and what flows. You're not really concerned with converting everybody or having everyone believe something in particular, but you're offering it. When Jupiter's in Pisces in the ninth house, it's more about what you have to offer than you trying to make someone believe something. You naturally have wisdom. You naturally have knowledge. You naturally have always been a seeker of knowledge, probably in some way or shape or form. And people will sense that you possess something. And with Jupiter is in Pisces, this ability to impact people through your work, through whatever it is that you do in your life is going to be really important, because people are going to feel a connection to you. Pisces energy is good with that sense of people feeling like, it's Pisces and Cancer, I think, are really good with that. People feel like, oh, wow, they care about me. Like, and I think with Pisces, it's on a collective level, right? Because Pisces is not, there's no conditions to love with Pisces or 12th house. There's no conditions. It's not like, well, I'll love you or I'll care about you if you do this or that. And so with Jupiter and Pisces, there gives this greater awareness for you to understand people in a way that is less about trying to get them to believe something and more about offering something. You being, Pisces being. Pisces is just being, the opposite of Virgo, doing, right? Virgo is always doing something task-oriented, and Pisces is just being. I'm good enough as I am, and I'm going to offer what I have, and that's it. So that's something just to that I would say about Jupiter and Pisces. But in general, you seek enlightenment and knowledge that lifts up compassion. I think Jupiter in Pisces is really empathetic, whereas Jupiter in Sagittarius and Jupiter, that energy might just be more about like, the enthusiasm of like, I care about change. I care about things being right. Things should be this way. I'm going to tell everybody that things should be this way, because we always need somebody that riles everybody up, that gets everybody to believe. And that is Sagittarius energy. But with Pisces is more of a gentle approach that you might be able to give to people. I'm kind of jumping around, but y'all have this timestamps, okay? So Uranus in the ninth house. I do have a video, Uranus through the house. I think I have all the planets through the house at this point. But in general, Uranus in the ninth house, innovation. There's definitely going to be an innovation, or, the way in which you live your life, your ideas on life might be very different. And the thing about it is, it sometimes takes time for those outer planets to develop. So when we're looking at someone's chart and we look at Neptune and Uranus, even Pluto, to some extent, we're especially Pluto, as long as that transit is. But when we look at these planets, the outer planets, sometimes it's experience. It's not always you. It's not a personal planet. It's not Mars. It's not Sun. It's not Mercury. It's not the Moon. And so when you have Uranus in the ninth house, you have to go through experiences to really use that energy. If someone's like, well, depending on your age, if someone's like, well, I'm 20 or, I'm 19, I just, I'm starting my life. You probably won't have a ton of experiences with the ninth house yet, because you're trying to come into your own and understand what you believe independent of your family or your parents. So Uranus in the ninth house happens more once you have gotten experience, and now you start to question things. I don't think this is right. Life should be different. I'm going to live differently. Or you have the potential to live differently if you choose to. Really examine your beliefs. You probably have some strange or unorthodox beliefs. Now, on the extreme, people with Uranus in the ninth house can have some very strange ideas about life and different philosophies that maybe, are needed for us to understand, but sometimes it could just be really, strange to other people. But again, strange is innovative. A lot of inventions that we have today, people thought were weird until, people started using them. One person asked about Uranus in Capricorn. And so what does that look like when someone has Uranus in Capricorn in the ninth house? So Uranus in Capricorn in general, what we're going to deal with Uranus in Capricorn is a weird relationship between tradition and innovation. This appreciation for like things and how they've been done, understanding traditional knowledge, understanding how things are supposed to be. Maybe you have a really intricate knowledge about traditional practices or life and like a lot of different understandings of just how the world is, how people are, you know, an understanding. But Uranus is like, but things can be different. And so what happens a lot is you might be innovative when it comes to something that you have a respect for how things might be. You have a respect for something foundational, something that is always been. You have a respect for, you know, certain structures and systems that we have in life. But the Uranus in you is like, but wait, I want it to be different. Or maybe Uranus as an experience, it has affected you where you've had a different relationship with doing things the common way to where your belief system is now different than other people. It might be different than your sister, your brother, your mom, dad, whoever, because your experience, again, the outer houses, the outer planets sometimes are more affecting our experience than they are our personality, if that makes sense. Now, yeah, different approach when you have Uranus in Capricorn. A different approach, but you're goal-oriented. So it's not about, I'm going to change things for the sake of it. It's that you understand life in a different way. And you have these experiences that are more the reason why you do that. The other question, I'll get to the other one too, was about Neptune and Capricorn in the ninth house. So let's get into Neptune. Again, I do have that Neptune video. Beliefs, spiritual nature. I think that Neptune functions really well in the ninth house. I also think Jupiter functions well in the 12th house, especially Jupiter because Jupiter is the original ruler of the 12th house. Neptune is the modern ruler. But I think there's a really great synergy here because the ninth house is our knowledge, what we can bring to people and say, this is life's experience. This is life. Neptune is the imagination. It's the things we can't touch, the things we can't see. And so sometimes Neptune is coming from a different place. You might not have always experienced something, but you just intrinsically know it. You just sense it. You just know that something else is there that's more profound. And because of that, you may have an inspirational way in which you get people to listen to you. Whereas if we have a serious planet, Saturn, Pluto, Mars is more dominant. But if we have a planet like that, we're going to get a different energy. Right? We're going to get a different person. We're going to get someone who's a little bit more demanding. But some people, it works well. Like people sometimes listen to that person who seems confident. Neptune is that very soft, suggestive energy. Remember, illusion, Neptune, it's very suggestive. But when Neptune's in the ninth house, you have a spiritual journey as well. And part of that might be you do have to share a part of that with other people. All those houses next to each other at the top have to do with the world, other people. Even the 12th house, which is very personalized, very isolated. When people actually think about it, your connection to things outside of yourself. You're connected to something that is not you, the spiritual world. So all those houses at the top, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We are getting to other people or groups and who we can impact. You know, and when you have Neptune there, there's self-discovery. You're on a journey. You are on a spiritual journey, but you might have to go places to get there. Whereas a person with Neptune in the 12th might already have that, be born with that, or be in a situation, Neptune in the 4th house, maybe they're born in a family that gave them some type of spiritual knowledge. When you're in the 9th house, you kind of have to go on your own. You might feel different than other people in your home, in your family, because you have this spiritual journey, but it does require you to do things differently. It might require you to start, oh, I believe in this. You believe in crystals. You start using them every day. You know, it's whatever it is that gives you a sense of purpose in this world. Neptune in Capricorn will be great in general about using that in a productive way, though. When Neptune is in Capricorn, it has no choice but to still make something a goal. And that's why I said I think it would be great for if you have Neptune in Capricorn in the 9th house. Whatever it is that's purposeful to you, you have to start doing it. You have to make goals. You have to say, okay, well, you know, for someone who's like, you know, they are like, well, I believe in, you know, equal rights for everybody or something like that. Well, you now, with that Capricorn energy, what are you going to do? Do you have a goal to, you know, create something for other people? Do you have a goal to interview a bunch of people? There's a lot of people who are like, I do readings for who are somehow in some type of media or some type of, you know, creative endeavors when it comes to film or creative endeavors when it comes to writing, you know, and so with what are you going to do with that Neptune and Capricorn energy? And again, it's more of a personal journey when we have Neptune there. Now, if you have multiple planets, you know, if someone, you have Uranus and Neptune in that ninth house, well, wow, you definitely have to do something with that energy because your experience is going to be unique in general. You're going to likely have different experiences when it comes to your belief systems, and following what other people have said, you're going to have to tailor it in your own way, you know. But when it comes to Neptune and Capricorn, definitely taking that, whatever inspires you, whatever you believe about life, and somehow making it a goal. You can make money off of Capricorn, or it simply becomes a part of you. You're like, every day I do this. I have a goal of, you know, you might say like, oh, I have a goal of one day going to this country because I believe what they believe. Or one day, or I go to this cultural festival every year because it helps me become closer to the truth. That is what we typically see if you're going to have Neptune and Capricorn. It's not just about believing and saying, it's doing, it's actions, it's goals, and related to whatever it is that inspires you. Now, Mars in the ninth house. Okay, so we have Mars. Mars doesn't mind being in any fire house, right? But Mars is now action. And now people are acting on their beliefs. And it really will depend on what you believe. Is it a good belief or is it a negative belief? Because if it's a negative belief, this person is still going to go forth with their plan and with their action. And they're driven because Jupiter, as that ruler of that ninth house, is like, I'm expansive. But again, Jupiter is usually a beneficial planet. You know, it's a positive, considered a positive planet. But what we're thinking about is the fact that it depends on what's there, depends on the person, depends on their chart. And so Mars there, they're going to act in accordance to their belief. You know, and that's great when you are someone who's like, I don't need another, you know, I'm just going to go and do what I know is right. I'm going to channel my energy through this. But remember, Mars wants to dominate. So you can have a person who wants to be seen so much as, look at what I did. Look at my experience. Look at what I believe. Look at what I said. Look at what I think. And again, it depends on other placements. If someone has Mars and Pisces there, maybe that's not the case. Cancer moon, something like that. Maybe that's not the case. You know, they like to do actions in according to what they feel is their truth. And so every day they might have certain things they do because like, this is my truth. This is how I live my life. But the positive of that can be people who live what they say, right? Mercury in ninth house might not always live the way they're saying. They might say it, but are they doing it? And Mars is like, I'm doing it. This is my belief system. This is what I feel. Here are my thoughts. These are my opinions. I'm doing everything as it involves my opinion. I'm going to act on this. But sometimes some people's opinion is positive and it is the truth, right? And so that's the thing about subjectivity. Your truth might not be someone else's truth. Mars does have to watch. Again, it will depend on your sign with that, what you do with that energy, because Mars can be dominating. Mars can, you know, Mars is conflict. Wherever we have Mars in our chart is going to tell us how we react in anger. So you have Mars in ninth house. You're going to probably tell everybody, you know, so let's say someone had Mercury and Mars in the ninth house. They're going to, when they're mad, they're going to tell everybody's business. When they're in a conflict with someone, they're going to tell everybody's business. Mars is like, I'm going to use the truth against this person. I'm going to use the truth against them, right? I'm going to use what I know, my knowledge. I'm going to use my knowledge against this person, right? And so that's just something to keep in mind. I don't want to say it can be positive. It also depends on what else is going on in that chart with what Mars is really doing there. Pluto can be obsessive, you know, anywhere Pluto is. Pluto is great for transformation and for any area of your life where you know there's change to be made. So when someone has Pluto in the ninth house, typically they know, they're aware of, I need to go on this journey of discovery. I need to know who I am. And, you know, and sometimes it can cause one to be a little bit obsessive with those topics, obsessive with, you know, with knowledge, with traveling, always going on a quest for something. And when you're always trying to seek truth, sometimes you ignore some of the other aspects of your life that are fact, the other areas of your life where you can feel comfortable because you don't have to go searching for it. It's already there. You see what I'm saying? And so that's just one thing I would say in general about the ninth house. I think Pluto can be great for someone who really does achieve their goals when it comes to that, especially someone like, you know, if we're looking at someone who already has Capricorn energy in their chart, maybe they have Capricorn energy or something like that, and they have Pluto in the ninth house. You know, obsessed with change. Now, again, it would depend on what else is in there. But if someone's obsessed with change to the point that they're always doing something new, they're always trying to become something different, they're always trying to master something. And again, I think this could be great when paired with a planet that is about, like I said, even like Mercury, if you have a higher learning, you know, someone who's always trying to educate themselves, someone who is like, I want to learn more so that I can teach people, so I can reach people. I want to learn more. I think that could be great if you have Mercury and Pluto together. But at the same time, the negatives can sometimes be Pluto wanting to exploit people. You know, Pluto in the ninth house, manipulation of what people believe. A lot of those people that are, you know, ripoffs or that are selling people things. You know, oh, if you just believe this, you're going to be fine. Or, you know, people who have to have someone believe in them and what they're trying to do or trying to sell or what they're trying to get people to think, right? If I can get you to think like me, I can control you. And so that's Pluto, right? Right? Mars is, I'm in control. I'm in control. Mars is not really trying to get in your mind, but Pluto can. And Pluto can, because Pluto can transform anything. And so you can gain from it though. People can gain power through Pluto if you positively use that energy. So I don't want to say it's all negative. You know, it's important for, if you have Pluto in the ninth house, to use it to transform yourself, use it to build your knowledge up, use it in a way that is positive and produces some type of result. It's okay to have people believe in you, to follow you. That's fine. It's just you can't use it for manipulative tactics. You have to use it in a way that you help transform maybe the belief systems of people. That's fine. You're so strong in what you know, and your convictions are so strong that you help the experiences of other people through you transforming what they believe, because you know they might need your truth. Saturn, you know, authoritative, but the mentors are there. The mentorship in the ninth house. Saturn has experience. And so when Saturn's there, it's usually a person with some type of authority. You can see people who people go to for counsel, for guidance, for, you know, you're going to be able to give me this information, this knowledge I need, or this discipline that I need. Sometimes people can be, you see this, the Saturn ninth house person, mature, wise, you know, and again, ninth house is not always religion, but it could mean anyone who's entrusted to give some type of wisdom. We're not just going for information. We're going for wisdom. We're going, look at this Saturn and ninth house person. Their experience believes a lot, and also their experiences have shaped what they believe. So a lot of your Saturn and ninth house people, their experience, they're going to be able to tell you what they went through. These are the people that sometimes go through a hard time to get to their belief system. You can have a person who was like, oh yeah, man, when I was younger, I didn't believe anything. And then I went through this experience and now I believe this. Or, you know, I used to treat people like this until this happened. And now, you know, I work on the behalf of people who need help. So that's what you'll typically see with Saturn there. You know, traditional beliefs sometimes, someone who believes there's an order to things. And again, that's where you can sometimes see indoctrinated views and things of that nature. Practical nature, though, practical nature. They believe that wisdom should be earned. You know, they might, if they are a mentor or a teacher type, they're going to make you work for the knowledge. It's not just, oh, here. You know, that's maybe a Jupiter or Mercury type of thing. Saturn is more so, okay, you want to get to this level? We need to now move forward. We're going to work on this. It's a practical nature. In a house that's very expansive, Saturn is it still is a practical practical nature. I wouldn't say it's a dominant. I say Saturn is pretty heavy because it is forcing you to go through the lessons of something in order to get something. And so Saturn in the ninth house person is good for counsel, for wisdom. Is good for eventually, if you're a person, you're pretty young, you're going to probably eventually get to that point in your life where people do look at you as somebody wise in a particular area of life. All right. People might come to you. People might trust you. People might think you have some type of not information, because that's more third. You have some sort of insight. You can shed light on something, right? All right, and we're going to now dive into, this is a bonus, the North Node. I have a North Node in ninth, and I also had 2 requests. So, all right, North Node. So if you have a North Node in the ninth house, you have to somehow be a messenger. But you have to understand what type of messenger you are. Because, you know, you don't have planets there. Now, if you, well, no, some of you might. But if you don't have planets there and you have a North Node in the ninth house, it's now by itself. And you have to figure out how's that energy going to be, how do you get to that point? So you first have to look at your third house and see if there's any energy in there. Are there any planets that can help you? Now, when you look at the fact that the North Node is what we're striving towards, you have to first know what you believe. And sometimes it comes from information, the third house. So it comes from, what do you know? What do you know? What do you think? And then what is your true feelings and beliefs on that particular idea, right? North Node, I have North Node in Taurus. I message to people what I know. I do not go outside my comfort zone to lecture people about something if I don't personally know it in and out. If I haven't built up the resources and knowledge to share something, I don't do it. Plenty of things, I have opinions on, but I will never say anything until I have more knowledge in order to do it. And so when North Node is in the ninth house, if your North Node is in Gemini, we're thinking of, okay, Gemini, words, inspiration. How do your words, how does your writing, how does your communication message to people? What message do you have to think, you have to speak with purpose. You have North Node in Gemini ninth house. It's not just about, now I don't know if you have Gemini anywhere else, but it's like, it's not just about speaking for the sake of it and saying things and just saying what you need to say. The ninth house is where we go to say, this is what I believe, and here's my thoughts. And so with Gemini being there, again, you're pulling back from a need to dominate an opinion. That would have been your South Node in Sagittarius. But when your North Node is in Gemini, you're learning how to connect to people and still influence them, and still influence what they believe and think, and still share those ideas and those experiences with people. You know, but you have to pull back from that South Node need to give your opinion and feel like people have to, you know, or to say, this is what I think, this is what I know, and expect everyone to fall in line. So it's more about using that Gemini North Node to bring things up. You know where you stand, but you're not trying to get other people to think that. People who are meant for you will come to you. Get what I'm saying? But the reason I'm saying this, because if you're a North Node in Gemini, your South Node is in the third house. In Sagittarius. And so you do have some opposite house flip-flop energy going on. And so likely you definitely need to tap into the energy of both Sag and Gemini, because you have that opposite house thing going on, right? You know what I mean? Because obviously Gemini belongs in that third house. And so, you know, that's pretty much what you would have to do, is your sense of curiosity is your messaging. You're kind of posing the question. You're getting people to think. You're getting people to think. You know, you're getting their curiosities up, but you're not telling them what to think. But you know what you are. So when people come to you, they can get your knowledge. They get your insight. But you're moving away from that South Node need to kind of dominate with, okay, let me get everyone on the same page as me. You know, from a past life type of energy, perhaps. North Node in Capricorn, okay, your beliefs need to become reality. If your North Node is in Capricorn, the ninth house, whatever you think and believe and your experiences have to somehow become a practical part of your life and your goals. You have to define, your experience you might define life for other people. Whatever your role is, your job, your occupation, you might actually, through that North Node in Capricorn, now North Node in Capricorn, you have your own goals. You have your own sense of ambition. Now you have to move away from the South, not move away, but the South Node in Cancer energy, you already know that. You already have that. So you're learning how to look at reality. But now it's in the ninth house. So you also have to understand, though, wait a minute. How do I help other people see how I've been successful? And so when you have a ninth house North Node, you are responsible for some type of messaging to people. It doesn't mean you're getting on a platform. It means you're finding people who need your message, or you're giving it. And the people that you need will get there, especially the North Node and Gemini person. The people who need you, who are listening, who are in tune with you, are going to find you or going to thrive with you, right? The North Node in Capricorn, you're moving from the South Node in Cancer need to just feel confined. to, okay, well, this is what I think, and this is what everybody around me thinks. With North Node in Capricorn, you are moving away from that Cancer energy of belonging, and you're creating your own. You're creating your own goal. But through what you're doing, you're actually using your experiences to help you help other people learn more about life, how to do things, what's the mindset behind how to do things and how to live life. And honorable mention, Juno, ninth house person. You might have a Juno through the houses, so this is going to be quick because I have a real video about Juno. You might be someone abroad or someone who has a very different mindset or views as you, or someone who is more worldly. More of a worldly type of person you might need. And Chiron, if you have Chiron in the ninth house, again, I have a video for the Chiron. You discover, you have to discover what you truly believe away from other people. You have to understand what your truth is. If you've Chiron in the ninth house, your truth has been taken from you, it's been robbed from you, or you weren't given experience, you weren't given the opportunity early in life to make decisions for what you believe or think, and you might be going through life with beliefs that are really not your own. And so it's important for you to find what you truly believe and really find your own truth and through, healing your Chiron.